Hi, I'm Joe Montana, and I'm really pleased to be able to talk with you drivers about the iGPS pallet. When I first learned about iGPS, I was so impressed. I have to admit, I didn't know much about pallets before getting involved with iGPS, but since then, I've learned quite a lot. And without a doubt, the people who move pallets, you drivers, are the key players in it all. I've seen how you all work as a team to make sure that you, everyone around you, and the products you move all stay safe. The iGPS pallet is revolutionary, and like most new things, it requires some minor changes in how you handle them. Now, a lot of the information you're about to hear is nothing new to you, but it does include some great tips for working with the new iGPS pallet. In the end, though, it's just good driving and forklift operation. We want this video to serve as a reminder of best practices to keep everyone safe. I think you're going to find this helpful.
Pallets are used in so many places, we often forget how important safety is. Most of the information presented in the next few minutes is common to the general safe operation of forklifts with plastic or wood pallets. But there are some differences to understand with the iGPS pallet. To start, let's review some of the basic features of the iGPS plastic pallet. The iGPS pallet is lighter than the standard wood pallet. In fact, it's 35% lighter than wood. That's a 27-pound saving per pallet, which saves up to 2,200 pounds per truckload. Being lighter, it's less costly to transport and easier to handle. The iGPS pallet is stronger than its wood counterpart and meets or exceeds GMA and ISO standards. We've engineered the solid top deck to reduce product damage and rejected loads. It's also safer. It is UL 2335 certified and FM 4996 approved. There are no nails or wood splinters to injure workers, damage equipment, and product. The iGPS pallet is impervious to wood-boring insects and bacteria and is never treated with pesticides, which enhances food safety. Independent studies confirm that the iGPS pallet is better for the environment. First, it is 100% recyclable. And since it is lighter, less fuel is used in transportation, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Another differentiating feature are the 4 matching RFID tags, unique to each pallet, that make it possible to track the pallet within the supply chain when shipped. Many of our pallets have an additional GPS device embedded in the pallet, enabling us to locate our assets when they have shipped out of our network. Now let's take an even closer look at some of the unique features of the iGPS pallet. It has a twin-sheet top deck with special ribbed structure for increased support, protecting against the impact of forklifts. A chamfered bottom deck allows easy entry of pallet jacks. Of course, the iGPS logo is located on 2 sides for easy ID. It has a stretch wrap lip on each corner for better wrapping and securing the load. There is also a lip on the top deck to increase load stability. Externally, it has barcodes on all 4 sides as well as the embedded RFID tags that can be used to identify the pallet. The top deck is slotted for improved ventilation and has 4 handholds to make it easier to handle. There are many common sense practices that you, as a forklift operator, should observe. The basics of pallet safety are nothing new to you, such as ensuring stacks are stable and planning lifts before starting them. Most importantly, please operate according to your company's specific rules and regulations, and pay attention to environmental limitations, noting the different specifications of each pallet, forklift, and racking system. Whether working in and out of a freezer, refrigerated, perishable, or dry environment, loading procedures for the iGPS pallet are no different than for any other standard 40 by 48 inch pallet. The capacity is 2,800 pounds for racking and 5,000 pounds when in motion and 30,000 pounds static load. When stacking a load, make sure it is on a flat, uniform surface and straight up. Each load needs to be centered and distributed uniformly across the entire surface. Much of this information can be verified on the data plate that is attached to the body of the forklift. As many of you are aware, operating in and out of different environments can be challenging. Ice, frost, and moisture can build up on the fork tines, which then can become slippery. This can happen during normal loading and unloading, but especially when the forklift sits for a while during breaks or when charging batteries. Extra care should be given to the first load movement after returning to the freezer, refrigerated, or perishable environments, whether moving a wood or an iGPS pallet. Due to the possibility of slippery tines, it is important to keep all movements smooth and at a safe speed. At the start, make sure the forks are at a proper distance apart to safely pick up and transport the load. Always position the equipment correctly before entering the load. Spinning or pinwheeling the load with the forklift can severely damage the pallet or the product. In any environment, the wider the forks are opened, the less room there is for the pallet to shift sideways. So spread the fork tines as wide as possible and be careful not to short fork the pallet. Lift and tilt the pallet as appropriate to avoid pallet sliding and to better stabilize the load. When you lift the load, keep it as close to the floor as is practical and avoid sliding on uneven surfaces. Always start and stop smoothly, and when turning, take extra care, especially with a raised load. Make all turns while lowering pallets in a smooth and fluid motion. All of these procedures are the same when operating in any environment, but remember to use good judgment when executing any lift. With different types of pallet jacks, there are different procedures and precautions to take. In general, most of this information applies when working with many types of jacks. With a single powered pallet jack, first position the pallet jack straight on for the entire load. Center the forks in the pallet openings. Enter on the 40-inch side versus 48-inch side. You'll feel when the wheels have cleared the crossbar. If unsure, back out and re-enter until you are certain that you have cleared the crossbar. Make sure that the wheels do not interfere with the bottom straps as you lift the load. If they are not aligned correctly, when you lift the load, it will damage the pallet and potentially the entire load. Basically, the same procedures are used with double and triple pallet jacks. With a triple pallet jack, picking up 3 pallets, center the forks and enter on the 40-inch side. Since your view of all 3 pallets is often limited, it's even more critical that you focus on hearing and feeling the wheels run over and clear the straps. Here's a closer view of the wheels clearing the straps. Listen and feel for the jack clearing 5 straps. And make sure the first pallet is tight against the battery box before you lift. As is sometimes the case, you might be picking up only 2 pallets with a 3-pallet jack, but basically the same procedures apply. Focus on your hearing and feel of the wheels going over and clearing the straps before you lift. For a double pallet jack, follow the same procedures. Enter on the 40-inch side. Make sure you listen and feel the wheels going over the straps. In this case, 3 straps. And make sure the nearest pallet is tight against the battery box before you lift. With a reach truck, always be aware when entering a racking system. Make sure you have visibility of the rack position when you are placing or retrieving loaded pallets in a double deep rack. Know the equipment specifications and load limitations, especially for the maximum load when the forks are fully extended. On a rolling rack, make sure the pallets are loaded evenly on the track. Place the pallets behind the stops to prevent pallets from sliding off the front of the rolling rack. And always take care when pulling the front pallet. Catch the rear pallet as it rolls forward to prevent unsafe conditions. When working with a free span rack, make sure you center the load in the rack opening. Carefully align the front of the pallet flush with the front of the rack. Upon entering the pallet when removing a load, avoid hitting the rack or short forking the load. So remember, make sure the load is centered and secured. that the forklift and the load are positioned properly, and that you don't position the load with the forklift. That the fork tines are spread apart as wide as possible and completely inserted for stability. Lift and tilt the load as appropriate before transporting. Keep the load as low to the floor as is practical. Keep your speed at a safe level and make smooth starts, stops, and turns. Position the electric pallet jack, EPJ, straight on for the entire load. Center the forks in the pallet openings and make sure that the wheels do not interfere with the bottom straps. For a single pallet jack, make sure the wheels go over both straps. For a double pallet jack, make sure the wheels go over 3 straps. And for a triple, make sure the wheels go over 5 straps. When working with a reach truck, ensure proper visibility of the racking system and know your equipment's specifications and limitations. On a rolling rack, make sure you are loading evenly and place pallets behind stops to prevent sliding, catching the rear pallet as it rolls forward. On a free-span rack, center the pallet in the rack opening. Align the front of the pallet flush with the front of the rack and avoid hitting the rack or short forking. Remember to use common sense and good judgment when operating any lift, recognizing your company's specific rules and regulations. Each one of you is key to maintaining quality and making the workplace safer.
As I said at the beginning, a lot of this information isn't new to you drivers, and this is not intended to be your main source of training, but rather some additional information. So thanks again for watching, take care, and be safe.